Until Hare Krishna, Sitaram. Excuse this one already, right? So this morning we are gathered for the Anteshti ceremony or the funeral ceremony of Subesh. I known him for many, many years as Ravi. In fact, I probably known him for not as long as some of you here, but at least about over 25 years. Like in the sense that as a young schoolboy, I remember about four of us, I live at Presal. I was telling one of his sisters, we used to come down by the Presal flyover and hike a ride and come down to the gas station near Center City where at that time he used to sell doubles and eat with belly full, drink some dollar juice, then walk back and hike back up the road to Presal. And then later, I came to realize he was also associated with the Hare Krishna movement, for many, many years. And on a number of occasions, I had the opportunity to go to his home and we had satsang and, different functions and things like that. I was very saddened to hear that he passed away, especially under the circumstances in which he did. It seems that he went into the hospital for one issue and came out with another issue. But, such is life. None of us know when or how we will ultimately meet our end. And it's a very, very difficult thing to come to terms with. So I'll speak something on that from the Bhagavad Gita. But before that, I'll recite some invocation prayers. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatang Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Mrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivashari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The phenomena of death is discussed very vividly in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says in the Gita that there are four things that all of us have to come to terms with. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, Dukkha, Dosha, Anudarshanam. That each and every one of us would have taken birth in this world. Janma. Mrityu. It is the other side of the coin. So long as we have taken birth, surely we will all give up this body. We will all die. And in between that, we have two speed bumps along the way. The body grows old, jara, and vyadhi. The body experiences inconvenience in the form of disease. It is the reality of our existence. Nobody wants it. Everybody gets it indiscriminately. And despite our greatest efforts, none of us can avoid it. And therefore we can say that these are actually the real problems of life. If we didn't take birth in this material world, we would not have disease, old age, and death to contend with. And therefore it's very important that we understand this phenomena known as death. Arjuna presented the same question to Krishna in the beginning of the Gita. Arjuna presented the same problem to Krishna in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita. He saw that he would have to contend with his family members, his relatives, and many of them, whom he loved very much, would have to lose their lives. And he says, Krishna, this is a problem for me. I find myself becoming very fatigued, very stressed. Very stressed. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Arjuna was feeling very stressed by what he had to do. He would see so many of his relatives, so many of his friends die. And he presented this dilemma to Krishna in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna said something very remarkable to him. He said, Natve vaham jatu nasang natvam neme janadipaha na chaiva na bhavishyama sarve vayam ataparam. It's very interesting. He said, never was there a time when I did not exist. Nor you, nor all these people who have gathered here. Nor in the future shall there be a time when any of us shall cease to exist. Why is that interesting? Because if you are 41 years old, then 42 years ago you didn't exist apparently, right? If you are 25 years old, then 26 years ago you didn't exist apparently. If someone dies at 56 or 60 or 70 as the case may be, then apparently they also cease to exist. But Krishna is saying here that he always existed, Arjuna always existed, and everyone also existed. So clearly, Krishna isn't speaking about the body, because the body came into being at some point in time, and the body goes out of existence at some point in time. Krishna is speaking about who we are eternally, and that is the spirit soul that gives life to and animates the body. That is who we actually are. Sometimes it is said that we have a soul, but that is actually a sort of improper thing to say. It is more proper to say, I am a soul, I have a body. Not that I have a soul. That is who I actually am. That is what my identity actually is. And within this body, we go through different changes. Krishna says in the next verse, Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram jauvanam jara tata dehantara prapti dhiras tatra nam muhyati. That just as we are existing in this body, we go through boyhood, youth, old age. Similarly, the body goes through another change, and that is called death. But we are not changing. Who we are remains. But the body changes throughout our life. We are the same person that we were when we were children. We are the same person that we were as we are adults. The same person as we grow old. And ultimately, when the body makes its final change, that same person moves on. Tata dehantara praptir dhiras tatra na muhyati. That person goes into another body. It's a very simple process. As easy as one changes his clothes. Vasamsi jirnani yata vihaya. Just as one changes his clothes, Krishna says in the Gita, the soul changes its body. And what body do we get? It depends on what we do in this life. It depends on what we do in this life that determines our future existence. And oftentimes, because we are uncertain about what there is in the future, that when somebody departs, it causes turmoil within one's consciousness. But Krishna says something very encouraging in the Bhagavad Gita, and I'll read that verse. He says, Neha bikramana sosti pratyavayuna vidyate swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayato mahato bayat. In this endeavor, there is no loss nor diminution. And a little advancement or a little bit done on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. So what is Krishna speaking about? When one begins to function in his relationship with the Supreme, even a little bit, a little spark of that gives one a more positive footing in his future endeavors, in future bodies, in future lives. Srila Prabhupada comments on this. In every other material sphere, when you lose it, you lose it. When you lose this body and you take another body, you have to go back to school again. You have to go through all the learnings you would have to do to become mature. You have to do it. But sometimes it is seen that a person has a spiritual awakening from a very young age. Nobody taught him that. They're naturally pious. They naturally want to learn about their relationship with the Lord. They are naturally interested in spiritual things. That comes because it was there previously. And therefore Krishna says, that Prabhupada comments in that point, that if one does 1% in this life, then he will start the next life at the point of 2%. Therefore, as we take successive human forms of life, we get that opportunity to evolve and grow our consciousness with the Supreme. So death is not necessarily the end, but it is the beginning of our onward advancement in our relationship with the Lord. And therefore the Bhagavad Gita is a book that gives encouragement to all of us. That not because somebody has died now, it is the complete end, and we should not know what to expect. But rather, it is the beginning of our continued journey towards excellence in our relationship with the Supreme Lord. So having said those words, I'll ask Devendranuja Prabhu to say a few words also. He knew Subesh very well from his interaction in the temple. He would always meet him in Shagonas over many years. So I'll ask him to say something also.
Hare Krishna. Now, so, for the time being, I am Vice President of the temple in London now. And very often, in a family, we become familiar, we take each other for granted, familiarity breeds contempt. And we usually are surprised when we hear about our relatives, especially when they pass away. So Sumesh, or Ravi, he was not ordinary. Because in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that out of many thousands of men, one may strive for perfection. And out of those who achieve perfection, hardly one will know him in truth, Krishna. Of course, Krishna is the same, Allah is the same judge, one God. The goal of this human form of life is to develop pure love for God. So Sumesh was unique in that he wanted to understand life and to live life to achieve the actual purpose that this human form of life in particular was meant. And that is very rare, so we honor him for his attempt. And a lot of you will know Roy Peters. He was from the same village. He became initiated as Ramadas. So Sumesh acted as his guru. There are different types of guru. So one type of guru is called Vartma Padarshaka Guru, like a signpost. Signpost will give the name of the street and point in that direction. So Sumesh pointed Ramadas in the direction of Krishna, Krishna consciousness. And Ramadas came to the temple and he became one of the head pujaris, one of the most important pujaris in the temple. So for that, Sumesh benefited. And you can well imagine the amount of people he would have introduced to Krishna, Krishna consciousness. And in the scriptures, in all scriptures, it is recommended that when we do good, especially the highest good, is to introduce people to God. You give a man something to eat, you feed him for a day or a short time, you teach him how to grow his own food or to acquire his own food. You feed him for life. So when people are introduced to God, then their lives are perfected. Their lives are perfect. So along with his welfare activities and charitable work, he used to contribute to one festival known as Ratha Yatra. The Ratha Yatra festival was conducted in Port of Spain, and Port of Spain is a very difficult place to go with a chariot with murtis, and he supported that. Of course, there were other supporters, and so many people in Port of Spain, they appreciated our courage to bring such a festival into Port of Spain. And these people in Port of Spain, they were recipients of the Lord's mercy in the form of prasadam, vegetarian food offered to Krishna with love and devotion, and distributed to whoever would be willing to accept. When any one of us, we engage in such welfare activity of spreading the glories of God, then our family, immediate family members, our ancestors, and our descendants, they become spiritually benefited. They can be delivered from the cycle of repeated birth and death. As Shantavegra Prabhu was explaining, if one does not surrender to God and learn the science of rendering service to God, then one is destined to take birth again and again and suffer from disease, old age, and death. But that can be checked only by surrendering to God. Even worshipping the deotas is not as effective or highly beneficial as surrendering to the Supreme Lord Himself. So we commend Subesh for his attempt, and we are praying that all those who would have been in contact with him would follow in his footsteps to try to live a vegetarian life. And that is a very difficult thing to do, to eat meat, gamble, intoxication, and illicit sex life. This is the norm of modern society. So this is what he stood for. He was going against, along with ourselves, that which is considered to be normal, but which is sinful and highly reactionary. So, on this day, we are gathered here to pay tribute to a soul who made that effort to use this human form of life for which it is actually meant. So we say all glories to Subesh, and all glories to all of you to participate in this farewell ceremony. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Pleasant good morning to all. Everybody present. Good morning to all. We are all here to celebrate the life of Harrideo Mowlah. My name is Azad Khan, and I've been a personal friend of S.M.R for over 35 years. Today, I've been given this opportunity to mention the celebration of his life. Mr. Mowlah was affectionately known as Ravi, Subesh popularly known as Ravi the Doversman. I can personally attest that he was a very well-liked, well-known, and very popular wherever he went or did business. Ravi was a friend to many. He was a brother to very caring brothers and sisters, father of Ravi Mowlah, Jamie Mowlah, and deceased daughter, Harrideo Mowlah. Father-in-law of Sophie, he was an uncle to many and a grandfather of one. Ravi had a special place in his heart for his mother. Here we are today. We were just by his home, and I just wanted to mention that because of the number of years I've known him, he started from humble beginnings. However, with many challenges, Ravi never once gave up. He persevered, he built, and I think I could say for sure that he had a very lovely home. Sadly, the reality is that no one can take with them any possession, but one can certainly leave an honorable legacy behind. Ravi did exactly that. During my time with Ravi, I was privileged to spend Diwali and Christmas holidays with him. His family, his siblings, and his friends. Ravi was always a family person. As you know, in many families, there's always one person who gives the glue to the family unit. in, in any way they can. I think I could safely say that Robbie was that person in his family. Many of his friends always look forward to associating with him on a regular basis. But one particular attribute that stood out to me was Ravi. He always was a smiling person. Always. One could never tell if he was sad, hurting, under pressure, or even not feeling well. Every time the question was put to him, "How are you doing?" his answer would be the same every time. "I good. Everything good." Always with a smile on his face. I could go on and on, but I think Ravi would want us all to smile and think about the happy memories he left with all of us. I would like to say at this point in time a special thanks to his sisters and make a special mention to Sean and Anna for making him feel comforted, valued, worthy, and still belonging to the group where people care about you. Also, I want to mention a very good friend, Anil Lachmilian, to whom he always looked for advice. And he would always tell me when he got some advice and what the advice was. I also want to mention his lineman buddy, Pramnan Suku, also known as Heads. I'm not forgetting a person who he held very dear in his life, Miss Chandri Mohammed. Harrideo Mowlah, Ravi, Subir, today we say goodbye to you, and may you have eternal peace and realize paradise for which you truly deserve. Goodbye, my friend and brother. We all know you would say, "You're good," so we can leave it like that. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So now in the interest of time, we'll just sing one bhajan. While that bhajan is being sung, whatever we have to do with the body will be done. After his son finishes, there are some flowers. If anybody wants to offer a token of their appreciation, of their love for him, they can just come and take our flowers and do it. One thing we have to be mindful of, because we're out in public, please make sure to maintain, like, a proper distance between ourselves. We would not want to attract the unnecessary attention of any police officer or anybody who might come to drive through, as the case may be, right? So the devotees will sing the bhajan, and I pass out a few copies to people. It may not be in the program there. If we had more time, I'll explain this bhajan. I think he liked this bhajan also, when he used to come to the temple. So with that being said, we'll continue with this, and we could come forward. Right? You sip in 3 times, right? With your right hand. Om Keshavaya Namaha. Reach your hand. Right? Now what we're going to do, we're going to that might hold it. Right? Just take just on the side of his forehead. Just take some and put some on the side of his forehead there. No, the flowers. Sprinkle the body with water. You stand up right here and just sprinkle it around. highlight them. Find a way to stick this now. I had to block the fire, right? Take your time, right? At least 7 times around the course, I had to block it, right? Huh? No, at least 7 times block the fire with the hand. Put this around the picture, put it around now, make it decorate, press it now. No, you don't have to boost. You don't have to boost it, you can put it around the picture. The flowers is out. You could offer the first one, and if anybody else wants to come. There's anybody else wants. Right to the flowers here, we'll just take an offer. Just can fold them and I ain't see it. Just before they come, just spray this around the body. Yeah, just spray it now. After the breeze blow it down there, I didn't see it. No, it's just that. It's just something organized one by one. Right, that's good. That's good. And keep all the flowers in the pot now. We just got up. Huh? I'm going to see. Yeah. Right. Who is the people carrying the body? Who carrying the body? Right, got up. Right, so take the bottle, remove the picture and so. This is Boodoo Mowlah to put around the head. Because it currently go around the neck. It's for practical reasons. Because the person lying there can't go around the neck. This Boodoo Mowlah because just to put it around the face. Right? So what you do is just move the picture, move the water and thing and guard up everything in the cloth. Right? And you just pick up the body and move. Pick it up one time because when you put on the going around and coming to the just right here for now. We'll pick up the body. Yeah, we will be chanting behind. Yeah. We walk in this way, right? Exit the thing properly. So we'll exit from around the arm, from this now. Alright. possible, you could put him on the shoulder.
No, you won't have.
You can't make it shoulder.
We can make it one hand.
Alright.
Yes.
Alright, come the G. You walk in front of that one. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Just the one kuchar, only he alone go walk around the fire, right? Alright. What man? Come here. Right, and the foot coming here. So listen, the back people swing this way. Just swing. I wanted him to open it again. No, you get problem with that boy. Yeah. Tell me some what to do now, you do.
Krishna
No, when you're going, if you put that fire, you'll get burned when you're trying to put the box inside. I'm not sure I'm like it over there. Alright. Make sure you hear the kucharan thing just now. Walk around 5 times, right? Every time you come back around, you touch it by the fire. And the 5th time, you light the camphor by the head. And light where it is, right? Yeah, S.M.R. Om Krabadam, Nikum Krabyam Namasi, Hakasya, Tisha Sandeya, Sanrasa, Sanmakubava. Vayuraningam Amritam, Madhyam Dakshanga, Kratu Smara, Kritam Smara, Kratu Smara, Kritam Smara. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hey. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Go for the, you can see the cutlass, the black tail and the big yarn and water. Bring it. Yeah, I was no yeah, now keep you ready for this. And sign and knock it out before the top, right? Full film now. Water, yeah. Is that good? हम सीता लोडाकीना तर्पयामि ओम हरिदेव मौला दासः सीता लोडाकीना तर्पयामि ओम हरिदेव मौला दासः सीता लोडाकीना तर्पयामि Mari water come. No, kita. Kalau lagi plenty, ini plenty. Ngapin kamu ya? Ya, we go ya. Ada pun kamu. Right one. Let's start down here. Yes. You were seeing only 11 just before the tomorrow was to attack. The video, the shot, yeah, you know, Stephen. Anything now? Yeah, So Boodoo skip in here, right? Yeah.